G'day folks, Ashley here from Ground Speed Gaming, and I just wanted to show you how I do a normal pre-flight for a Cessna 172 in real life. Now it's probably going to differ a little bit compared to what they suggest in Microsoft Flight Sim, or even what they might suggest in the flight manual. It's pretty simple, and I keep it pretty simple, at least I think I do. So I always start from this position here, so next to the pilot's door. And I always move in a clockwise direction around the aircraft. So the first thing I do is, well, normally the aircraft I fly don't have static port covers. The first thing is I'll check the static port, make sure that it's clear. That's a very important instrument that we're going to use or make reference to in flight. The 172 I fly doesn't have a quart turn screw in here, it actually has a push button. So I actually open this. This is where the ground power unit's connected to the aircraft. Now, it's pretty rare that I've used ground power units in general aviation aircraft. I've never used them in the 172. I've only used them in the Skycatcher when it was really, really cold. But I still open this just to have a look inside underneath the cowling, just to make sure everything looks like it's in place and whatnot. And so once I've had a look inside there, I'll just reclose it again. And then I'll just move my hand and push along the cowling to make sure that the cowling's nice and secure. And I'll look down here, make sure that the wheel looks okay. Yeah, it's not flat. Yeah, and this is looking okay, nice and inflated, like it's not sitting on the bottom there. Like, you know, and there's no oil or anything leaking that shouldn't be. I'll come around the front here. And once again, where I'm flying, we don't have these in the aircraft because these aircraft that I fly are actually stored in hangars overnight. And the only time they come out is when they're actually going to be flown, so we don't normally have those in there. But I'll look inside here, inside the intake, and just make sure there's no bird nests or anything like that. Nothing out of the ordinary in there. Yeah, you can see the belt. You can't really see it from here, but there's a belt that goes around there, like connected to the alternator, and just to make sure that the belt looks nice and clean and it's not frayed or anything like that. I'll move my hand up and down the prop blade on the front of it, on both props here. Make sure there's no nicks and cracks or anything like that. And I'll just tap on the nose cone here, make sure that's all nice and secure. Look for any cracks around any of the screws here. And then we've got the air intake with the air filter, and we just make sure that it's clear. There's nothing obstructing it at all. And we have the exhaust pipe. Make sure it's all looking good. Once again, I'll push against the cowling to make sure that it's down secure. And then I'll check the oil here. Just open that. And obviously we just check the oil levels and make sure the oil levels are good. Now, I'm not sure how to return the oil. Oh, there we go. Okay, excellent. And then I'll just put my hand on this handle here and then my left on this handle here, and I'll pull myself up and actually look at the fuel tank on top. I'll take the fuel cap off, visually inspect to see how much fuel is on board. It's usually full. I'll need to visually check that anyway. And then once I've seen that, I'll put the fuel cap back on and make sure the fuel cap's aligned with the airflow, which I'll show you from an overhead view later because I don't think you can climb up here during the pre-flight. Once I get back down, I'll inspect these two air intakes here. And these are for ventilation in the aircraft. So these sort of vents that you can see in there, there's one about here somewhere, and this is where they all come through, the air. And I'll make sure it's not tied down. If it's tied down, I'll undo the tie there. If there's chocks, I'll get to that shortly. And also I'll rub my hand along the side of the leading edge here just to make sure there's no dents or bumps or anything like that. It's usually covered in a lot of bugs. And then I'll just rub my hand around the side here. Make sure it's all nice and smooth. And I move that up, the aileron. Inside here, there are actually 3 counterweights. I'm pretty sure it's 3 or 4. I think it's 3. There's 3 counterweights built inside here, and I'll actually make sure that they're all in there. Also, I'll just make sure that the hinges are all secure properly. This one as well. And I'll hold that up with my one hand, and I'll put my fingers on this I'll just turn it left and right to make sure that it's secure. And also make sure those hinges are secure. Not only that, when I move this aileron, make sure the other one, see if we can see it, make sure the other one does the opposite. And we'll stand in a position where you can see the control column. Can you see the control column in the flight deck there? Not really. Hang on, let's see if you can see it. I'd look at the control column as well to make sure that it's going in the right direction. Even though we can't see it, just assume that we have. Also, the static wicks on the end, just sort of put my fingers either side of it, just make sure they're kind of secure. And I'd push against the flaps to make sure they're secure. You just sort of move back and forth a bit. Check to make sure that the tracks are all clear. Make sure that's secure. You can't really see it here, but you can see it. There's a screw through it with a piece of metal through it just to holding it in place, so make sure that it's all there. And fuel drain. There are 5 spots on this wing. There's that one, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you drain a little bit of fuel into the fuel drainer to make sure there's no dirty bits or water or anything in the fuel tank. And obviously if there's any chocks, you'll remove the chocks. And once again, look to make sure the tyre is inflated properly. And obviously I mentioned tie down earlier, but once again, just check and make sure that you removed any tie down if it's tied down. After that, just come back here and just quickly, I have a finger on either side of the antenna, just flick my fingers back and forth just to make sure that the antenna is secure. I'll do the same for that one here. Just make sure the antenna is secure. And along the back here, along the side of the fuselage and on top here, I'll have each hand, one hand on either side, and I'll just rub my hands down it as I walk past it, just to feel for any ridges or any warping or anything like that, because when people exceed the aircraft's limitations, it'll sometimes warp the frame and you can feel it. You may not be able to see it, but you can feel it. And I'll do the same here. I'll just feel my hand up there. Rub my hand along the leading edge here. Make sure it's all smooth, no bumps or major dents or anything like that. And with regards to the tail, can we move it? Yep. I'll look at each one of these hinges, these joins, and make sure that the screws are in properly. Underneath, this is the trim tab. This part here, that's the trim. Make sure that that is secure on there. It's not going to come off. Make sure that it works okay. Make sure the other side comes up at the same time. And I haven't heard anyone else mention this, but I'll make sure that when you move the tail, if you can move it, you should be able to move it. You should be able to move it. Make sure the tail doesn't actually make contact with the elevator here. Also, I'll go and check. When you move the tail, you can actually see the joins where the hinges are, and I'd make sure that those hinges are there. Once again, put my fingers either side of the antenna, just sort of flick my fingers just to make sure that the antenna is secure. That side as well. And also the static wick. Make sure that they're on there secure. Check the hinges on this side as well. Make sure they're all intact. Rub my hand along the leading edge of the elevator. And again, I'll rub my hands along the side of the top and the side as I move forward. Check to make the door that is actually secure. Make sure it's not going to pop open in flight. Even though, because of the direction it opens, even if it was to unlock while you're in flight, it'll keep closed. So it's not too big an issue, but obviously you want it to be closed. The antenna, just move fingers either side of it just to make sure that the antenna is secure. You can see the fuel cap. And the fuel cap is facing towards the airflow. Same with the other one. And you just check the flaps. Have a look on top here. Make sure you can see that they're secure. You sort of move it back and forth. There should be a little bit of movement, but not a lot. And we'll get to the chocks when we get to the other side. Once again, ailerons. Let's just try and go underneath it. Can we go underneath it? All right, just push that up. Once again, look for the counterweights. Pretty sure it's 3 or 4. I'm certain it's 3. And they're kind of long. So make sure they're still intact. Once again, check the hinges. And again. More hinges. All right, walk up to the flaps here. You just sort of make sure that it's a little bit of movement, but not a lot, but secure. Check the tracks. We will pull the chocks now. We're next to the wheel. Make sure the wheel is not flat. No oil or hydraulic fluid on the ground or anything like that, because we need that for the braking. And once again, we do draining the fuel just to check the fuel from 5 spots again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll check the fuel. It should be a light blue color with no water. Now, water is heavier than avgas, so if there is any water, it'll be not only clear, but it'll be at the bottom of the fuel strainer or fuel drainer. So it'll be visible. And I find it best if you hold it up against just the fuselage, because if it's a white fuselage, you can clearly see the blue color. It stands out very well. Very easy to see. Just come back out here. All right, I'll just check the leading edge. I'll rub my hand along the leading edge. That is the stall warning. You want to make sure that it's clear. I do not like sucking on it. I think it's disgusting. But there are devices you can get that you hook up to it and you press it and it'll suck air out of it. But as long as it's clear, it's going to work. So I'll just make sure that it's visually clear. Now, this is something that's really important that I never hear people talk about, is this thing here. That is your fuel vent. So this needs to be open or not blocked in order for the fuel to flow to the engine, because as the fuel drains from the fuel tank, air needs to take place of that fuel that's been drained or burnt. So if that's blocked, the fuel's not going to flow very well. In fact, it might even stop. It probably won't stop, but it won't flow as well. But I've experienced in real life where these were actually blocked when the aircraft was parked on the ground due to insects. I was down in Louisiana one summer. I was picking up a Cessna 152, and this fuel vent was actually blocked with mud. There was some sort of local insect that made a little home in it and filled it with mud. And I had to get a little piece of metal to scrape out the mud, because if that's blocked, the fuel is not going to flow very well, and you don't want that. All right, so I rub my hand down the leading edge some more and remove the pitot cover. You actually just check the pitot cover to make sure that there's nothing blocking it there. And I don't know if it'll depict it in this. I doubt it will. But on the back of it, there's a drainage port. It's like a tiny little hole back there. You want to make sure that that's clear as well. All right, now we're back where we started. So now I'd put my hand on that handle, my left foot on this here. Right foot I'll put up here, and I'll check the fuel levels in this tank. So I'll take off the fuel cap, visually check the fuel level, usually pretty good. Put the fuel cap back on, and once again make sure the fuel cap is aligned with the airflow. And that is my pre-flight inspection. So let's go inside, see if we can see the fuel caps. There we go. So you can see the fuel caps are actually aligned with the airflow, or where the air would flow. So that looks good. And also when you're up there, you can actually visually check the GPS antenna, just make sure that it's clear. So yeah, pretty cool. And the last thing I'd do is, now you can do this before you do the other pre-flight, and that is check all the lights. So what I'll do is I'll put there's no power yet. Beacon light, landing light, taxi light, nav lights and strobes. Now you don't want to leave them on while you're doing your whole pre-flight, because you don't want to waste battery. Because also you're going to have your screen on when you put the battery on. So just put the battery on quickly. Go outside again. Now I'll just quickly walk around and I'll go, is the strobe on? Yep. It's not very bright. They need to fix that, but it's on. I think the nav light looks like it's on. All right, those two are working. Excellent. Oop, oh. Okay, I think that's meant to be on. Yep, the strobe's on there. Excellent. There should be a white tail at the back. White light on the tail. Oh, stop. Beacon light's on. That's excellent. And I think it's on. I'm not sure. We'll assume that it's on. In real life, you'd be able to tell. And if you have an aircraft that has an electric stall warning, you would check that as well. So I'll just quickly turn the power off. Just quickly switch all those lights back off. And that is how you do a pre-flight inspection. Or that's how I do a pre-flight inspection on the Cessna 172 in real life. And that's all there is to it. It's actually pretty straightforward. And if in doubt, you can always make reference to the pilot's flight manual as well. And it demonstrates how to do the pre-flight inspection as well and what to look for. Although I think in the flight manual it says to do it in your opposite direction, which is fine. I don't think there's any right or wrong way of doing it. As long as you just check all those points, I think you'll be in good hands. And obviously, once you've done your visual inspection and once you start up the engine, you would also check to verify the fuel levels indicate what you saw visually in the tanks as well. Now, if the fuel was this low, you wouldn't actually be able to see much fuel in there. You'd be able to see that there is some in there. But when it's full, obviously, the indicators will be up here. But yeah. So, anyway, that's all there is to it. And I hope you got something out of this video. And thank you for watching. And I'll see you later.